Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:07 on this Friday in your nation's capital. It's O'Connor and Company, and we're trying to make sense of what came down yesterday. By the way, it was the spat between Trump and Elon Musk. Also yesterday, a huge rift between our own Mark Levin, the great one, and Tucker Carlson over
interesting.
Iran and policies with Iran. That got very personal, too. And again, I can't make much sense of it. Ideologically, I tend to be more on the side of President Trump on this one, and practically for that matter, and ideologically more on the side of Mark Levin. It doesn't make it any better, though, when you've got people involved that you really do like and you want to root for and do a great job, and suddenly they're having a blow up. People feel compelled to take sides, especially between Trump and Musk. We're trying to make sense of it for you and also sort of lend some facts to the table so it doesn't get
important
too emotionally involved. On the Iran issue, though, I think it's fair to say the great one does have the facts on his side there as well. 805 Tevi Troy wrote a book called The Power and the Money, the epic clashes between commanders-in-chief and titans of industry. 835 Roseanne Barr. Roseanne will make sense of all of this for us.
Hey, I can't wait to hear her analysis.
Patrice Onwuka is also making sense of it. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it.
Yeah, indeed. We did make it. We couldn't come soon enough. Joining us right now, Reagan Reese. She's the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. She, along with our friend Amber Duke, did some deep dive and well-sourced reporting on this as it was unfolding. In fact, Reagan, were you at the White House as this whole drama was unfolding? Where were you when the tweets started flying intensely yesterday afternoon?
Well, so the Daily Caller office is where I spend a ton of my time because it's only a couple blocks away from the White House. And we're sitting there, and I was like, I'm going to the White House. And I packed up all my stuff, and I ran over there. And, you know, there wasn't as much action as I expected to be going on around White House grounds. But it was a good place to kind of take my calls, maybe talk to some other reporters, pick their brains about what's going on, what they're hearing. You're always better when you're at the White House.
Knowing the energy at the Daily Caller newsroom, though, when these things started flying, you guys must have been like, oh, are you seeing what I'm seeing? It must have been nuts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a really tight-knit newsroom. We all sit together, and so we don't even have dividers or anything.
Yeah,
so I'm screaming out, and I'm like, Elon Musk just said Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. And everyone's like, send it in the chat. And so, yeah, we're going back and forth all day long. That's why you love the news, right? It is like,
absolutely.
These are the moments that make you love what you do because it is like, get the popcorn. Oh, my gosh, it's going
sure. Except that freedom, liberty, and the advancement of humankind is at stake, Reagan. But sure, absolutely. Pop the popcorn.
So, Reagan, talk to us about your reporting here. It sounds like you've got the scoop with the White House insiders that this has been brewing for a long time. And we've been saying, well, surmising it's about EV credits and stuff like that. But what else do you think is at play here based on your reporting?
Yeah, so we've heard all of this stuff about the EV mandate, and that's why Musk is mad. Both Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson have said this. Elon Musk has denied it. Despite his public insistence otherwise, a senior congressional source did tell us that Elon Musk directly asked Speaker Mike Johnson to include the EV tax credits in the big, beautiful bill. But more importantly, I don't think a lot of this, my White House insiders have told me, had to really do with this EV mandate. It had been brewing for months that Elon Musk had been acting like the second president, that he had been over-asking, that he was really trying to assert himself. He wanted to take over the State Department. Marco Rubio wouldn't let him. He got mad. He wanted to have more influence in the Pentagon. They wouldn't let him. He got mad. And then when he didn't get his big picks in the IRS, he really wanted to have influence over CIA leadership. Didn't get that. And the red line, what my sources told me, was the NASA pick. He didn't get his NASA pick, and that is why they think he's mad. So, you know, he's maybe the big, beautiful bill, being mad about that is a front for weeks and weeks of frustration brewing behind closed doors in the White House.
That's interesting. And I can't tell if my opinion is informed by your reporting with Amber Duke or whether organically I just sort of reached that conclusion as well, that he's smart enough to know that the reconciliation bill, first of all, is not a spending bill. There are built-in limitations. Listen, I said, hey, let's get rid of the Department of Education in the reconciliation bill. And Chairman Jason Smith said, yeah, we can't really do that. There are rules. There are certain things that we can and can't do here, but we are going to do that when we go to regular order. Elon Musk knows that. And so because he made this bill the main focal point here, it sure seemed like there was something else at play, and he was using the bill as sort of a pivot point or something, or something to just draw attention to it. But Reagan, you just said that for a time there he was trying to run the State Department. Do you have any examples of that, how that exactly manifests?
I think the best example that I can provide you is that he wanted to completely get rid of USAID. And Marco Rubio kept some elements of USAID and kind of transferred them over to the State Department. And one of my White House insiders basically just said that, Marco Rubio's been around for a long time. He's probably one of the most political savvy men in Washington, D.C. He went from being small Marco to now having a million jobs or little Marco to now having a million jobs in the White House. And so I think Marco Rubio really put his foot down on what was going to be done at the State Department.
Okay,
and
so that was over USAID, which Doge, the revelations, Patrice, that Doge were able to come up with on USAID were stunning and important, I think.
Well, to follow up on that, in addition to, it's not surprising because I think we've seen in some of the few publicized or publicly viewed conferences with all of the cabinet agency meetings with the president, you could see that there's a little bit of tension in the room when some of these agency heads are thinking, okay, well, yes, there's cuts, but I also want to have greater control over staffing and, decide, what kind of plan to implement to incentivize people to leave. But back to Musk at the White House. I see here that you talk about a physical altercation that seemed to ensue. Is that how bad things got, where Elon Musk was getting physical with a White House staffer?
I think some of it boiled out into the public. And when some of my sources were naming what specific things caused problems to occur and caused Musk to go overboard, some of them said, we've seen them already. And it's kind of shocking that people are surprised right now because they publicly played out. So he fought with Stephen Miller very publicly about immigration. And then we got a ton of reporting about Scott Bessent and their fight with the IRS over the IRS leadership. And that's really that physical one, that gets really intense, and they're screaming at each other. And I guess Trump doesn't see it. But one thing I do want to include is that I did hear that Trump was rather patient with Elon, would continue to bring Elon into meetings, would continue to be generous with his time. And around him, staffers and cabinet officials were starting to get angry, started to realize this guy thinks he's high and mighty. But the whole time, Donald Trump was really steady and patient and willing to continue to give Elon Musk some more chances. And I think that's really important context.
It sounds like you're saying, Reagan Reese, that Trump was the grown-up in the room here, sort of the Uncle Don.
I would even go as far to say yesterday I thought his responses were quite reasonable.
Rather measured.
Yes.
Comparatively speaking. All right, hold that thought. Reagan, we're going to keep you over. This is the story. And I do want to dive a little bit further into Speaker Johnson's involvement in this and Musk's appeal to sort of keep those EV tax credits. Was that really just a money play, or is he really... he does seem to be all in on solar energy, and this is a thing of his. We'll get into it a little bit more with Reagan Reese, Daily Caller, who was all over this story as it was developing and unfolding before our very eyes.
WMAL, making sense of the news.
While the rest of us were glued to our devices, waiting for the next post on X, Reagan Reese, she ran toward the fire. We want her on that wall. She gathered her supplies and went right to the White House correspondent's room there, as she is the Daily Caller's woman on the front lines during yesterday's dust-up between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And a great article, by the way. It was written and updated on the fly by Reagan and her co-author, our friend Amber Duke. Bill Ackman, who I think has the ear of both of these men, Trump and Musk, put out on social media toward the end of the day, around dinner time, "I support Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart." Elon Musk replied to that and said, "You're not wrong." So was there discussion there at the White House in the West Wing about moving forward here? How can they resolve this? It sure seems irreconcilable, but both of these men understand that they have mutual interests, and as Musk just said, he agrees. We're stronger if they're together. What does that look like, Reagan?
I believe Politico broke while I was choosing to sleep that are setting up a peace talk this morning, or a phone call between the two leaders. But just to speak to how White House officials are feeling about this whole thing, I did give the sense that though the aides I spoke to were frustrated, they did hope that there was going to be peace, that there was going to be some reconciliation. And one source even pointed out to me, Donald Trump typically makes up with a lot of people that he gets mad with. And so he does
Except
think
Rosie
that
O'Donnell. That's never happened.
And I feel like that's understandable. And just looking at how tempered Donald Trump has been, how reasonable he's been in responding to Elon Musk, I do think that there's a path forward. It seems like the ball's in Elon Musk's court if he wants to make up with the White House.
Reagan, shifting gears just a little bit, before it was bumped off the headlines, Karine Jean-Pierre coming out as a independent was making headlines with as she peddles her new book due out this October. And I would just love your take. I'm sure you've interacted with her when she was the previous press secretary under Joe Biden, and now she's writing about how the White House was broken and the Democratic Party has fallen apart, as though she is has absolutely nothing to do with it. What is your take on her whole spiel right now?
I was reading an article, I think, Tuesday, about her new book deal, and a couple sentences down, buried in this piece, I find in the Associated Press that Karine Jean-Pierre is leaving the Democratic Party. And I was like, this is the lead. This is the news. And so that's kind of how I came about it. I was shocked, and it's like typical mainstream media behavior to bury that news because they know it looks bad. It's stunning. I think that I really can't believe it. She lied to us all for years.
Yes.
I actually think I was quoted in Fox News saying, I can't wait to see what Republicans she votes for. I don't really know what Karine Jean-Pierre as an independent looks like, and as this like she's going to bring everyone together. And I find it very hard to believe. And I think we all know it's a bunch of BS.
Yeah, Mitt Romney was an extreme racist right-winger to Karine Jean-Pierre, so well observed there, Reagan. Is it going to be a quiet day at the White House today, or do you think that there's going to be some sort of development on this front?
Is it ever a quiet day? I do believe the president is traveling over the weekend, but no, it's never a quiet day, and there's also White House Correspondent Association elections begin today. And so there's been a ton of campaigning and, groveling going on around the White House campus. So even if the president doesn't make news, there's a lot of internal politics that I'm about to go play.
Do you want to tell the vast WMAL audience here in Washington and worldwide who will have Reagan Reese's vote for White House Correspondent Association?
That's a great question. I'm half debating if I just write in my own name. I haven't decided yet. I need to have a couple more conversations with people and kind of weigh who is someone going to pay attention to the little guy.
Reagan, there's only one answer to this question. Alex Jones.
Oh.
Now
I thought
is
you were
the
going to
time.
say Caroline Leavitt. That's funny.
I do like that Caroline Leavitt was trending there with a poster. I do like that as well. But no, I'm going all in on Alex Jones. Why not? Why not at this point? That should be the campaign slogan. Alex Jones for White House Correspondent Association. Why not? Thank you, Reagan. Great stuff. Give Amber our best.
Will do.
It's 7:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37 on a pretty busy Friday in your nation's capital. Remember when June, July, and August were slow news cycles? Yeah,
Larry, I don't think it's been slow for the past 2 years. No. Have you noticed? And especially last year?
How about 10 years? Coming up later in the program, as we continue to track this news cycle, we're going to speak at 8:05 with Tevi Troy, who wrote a book called The Power and the Money. It's all about epic clashes between presidents and titans of industry. Timely. And then at 8:35, Roseanne Barr will give us her observations as she talks about her upcoming D.C. show. Also, as this is the 6th day of June, I think it would be appropriate to remind everyone the historic nature of this day. I am struck by the pettiness of a lot of what we're seeing right now in this exchange about X and the tweets going back and forth and the petty replies of Democrats that we're about to get to here.
Oh, yeah.
And at the same time, as I see that on my social media feed, I also see photographs, films, and remembrances of the D-Day invasion. And I recognize that in the grand scope of history, the tweet war that happened between Elon Musk and Donald Trump yesterday, kind of a pimple on the butt of history, as it were.
What a visual, Larry, you gave us.
Compared to what the greatest generation did 81 years ago today. Yes. So put it in perspective, my friends. So Elon Musk started telling people on Wednesday that he was going to lead the effort to kill the reconciliation bill. He asked for people to call their senator, call their congressman, because this bill was going to bankrupt America. Yesterday, President Trump responded to this on questions about the full frontal attack that Elon Musk had been taking. It started just as an attack on certain congressmen, certain senators. It wasn't to Trump directly, but Trump has made this bill his baby. I mean, this is personal.
It is. It absolutely is. As
Stephen Miller, the Deputy White House Chief of Staff, noted on social media just moments ago, this codifies border security. It codifies every single tax cut. It actually does cut a lot of spending that it is capable of being cut or reorganized in a reconciliation package. There are limitations there. This is what President Trump ran on, codified in legislation. This is not a spending bill, and it's not. I mean, now you can get into spending starting now. We saw the hearings. They're having budget hearings right now. They're having appropriations hearing. This is what regular order looks like, and this is where you can actually make differences. So,
and in fact, next week the House will take up a $9 billion rescissions package. I hope Elon Musk says, "Hey, vote for those spending cuts there."
Compared to the cuts that Doge sussed out, that he says that's not enough. All right. So yesterday, Trump was asked about this. He finally sort of broke his silence, because he had been keeping his mouth shut for like a day and a half, which is something, Here's cut 5, Trump on Musk.
He's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it.
All right, here's cut 7. Newt Gingrich yesterday pointing out the flaw in Musk's logic with regard to the reconciliation bill.
So Musk says it's all about debt, and this big, beautiful bill doesn't cut it. Does he have any point there?
That's just, no, it's baloney. This bill does more to turn the curve on spending. Look, as you know, I am the only speaker to have helped balance the budget for 4 years in the last century. So I have some notion of how you do this. This is the first step. It's not the last step. It's an important first step. It creates economic growth, which if the Congressional Budget Office wasn't a bastion of idiotic left-wing thinking, by itself, the economic growth would virtually pay for the bill. It has a substantial cut in domestic spending in a very large way. It reforms Medicaid in a very positive way. And I think, Musk probably ought to get a briefing on the real bill rather than his personality feelings.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
The only speaker to balance the budget 4 years straight.
Yeah, I'm not going to quarrel with Newt on this, and that's
Absolutely.
sort of my read as well. Again, it's not perfect, but if you're looking to cut spending and make fundamental changes to the deficit and the debts, it ain't in a reconciliation bill that you're going to get that done. Now's where that hard work begins in appropriations and in budgeting and spending. Patrice, have you seen what the Democrats have been saying about all of this yesterday?
Oh, they're wetting themselves, literally, sadly, in excitement over what they think is, Elon Musk now turning on Trump. And I don't think this is long term. I said it earlier in the show. They're going to make up and they're going to be working together again. It may not look exactly like it looked at the beginning of this administration, but Democrats, they will once again hate Elon Musk. Just give it about a week.
That's true. What do you do if you're a Democrat? You've just spent the last 4 months saying that Elon Musk is Hitler. So whose side are you going to be? I mean, here's the beauty of being a Democrat is that they've said both sides are Hitler. Eric Swalwell put out an interesting post, quote tweeting Donald Trump by saying, "Donald, without Elon Musk, you wouldn't be president now. You'd be a prisoner." Well, as Joe Concha points out, our friend of this program, Swalwell kind of giving away the game here. Thank you for validating the fact that when you guys win elections, you put your opponents in jail. There you go.
That was the game. That was the intent of all of the lawfare.
Right.
Listen, Eric Swalwell shouldn't be listened to anyway, but go ahead.
That's true. That's true. AOC put out a video saying that, these two huge egos were not long for being together in this world. The girls are fighting, she said. The girls are fighting. But what does that even mean? Were they? Is there such a what is it? Is there a girl fight versus a male fight? The distinction here that I'm missing?
I don't think so. I mean,
why is she intent on misgendering people? I thought that was offensive.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Oh.
Chuck Schumer posts. He's so bad at this. He says, "Siri, play Bad Blood." Meanwhile, more offensive. Democrats started fundraising off of this. We'll share that detail in just a moment. It's 7:44.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Democrats put out a fundraising email highlighting the feud between Trump and Musk, raising money off of it, as our colleague, afternoon drive host Eric Hunter, pointed out. Whatever good either think they've done or were doing will be undone by acting like children. They need to grow up, and he's right about that. Whatever happens when we fight, it does help Democrats, and they are the common problem here. It also helps people like the Bulwark Democrats, I repeat myself, as they had a emergency live stream. And the screenshot of J.D. Vance and Sarah Longwell, J.D. Vance, J.V. Last and Sarah Longwell, Tom Bevan actually said the Bulwark felt it was necessary to live stream their orgasms over this. See, all the wrong people were enjoying this thing, which tells me it needs to get cleaned up and fixed immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of disgusting, but this is all the left has right now. So, they've abandoned the Maryland man and all of the other violent illegal immigrants for the moment, defending them. Now they're turning their ire to cheering on a fight between Trump and Musk.
Ashley, things like this do bring out the best and worst in people on social media. Ashley St. Clair, who is known as a conservative influencer, as it were, but most notably, she was impregnated by Elon Musk at one point.
Elon's baby mama?
Now had a very public fight over child support. she took to X and said, "Hey, Donald Trump, let me know if you need any breakup advice." Whereupon Milo Yiannopoulos, of all people, replied and said, "Do you think you were in a relationship, sweetie?" See, this is not good.
I'm
JD
here for it,
Vance.
though.
JD Vance was on with Theo Vaughn yesterday while all this was coming out. They put out a picture in the studio that said, "Slow News Day. What are we going to talk about?" So we'll look forward to seeing that video. Andy Cohen, who, of course, on Bravo does all of the spats between the Real Housewives for the last couple of decades.
Yes.
He tweeted out and said, "Let me host the reunion special."
Oh, goodness.
That's about right. And even In-N-Out Burger weighed in and said, "Friendships come and go, but In-N-Out will always be here for you."
Okay, when the brands start latching on and using it to peddle their products, you know that this is now more of a phenomenon than anything else.
Listen,
it's
since
taken on a life
Elon
of
Musk,
its
one
own.
of Elon's big bones of contention is there not enough cutting and not enough Doge recommendations in the package to be cut. As you mentioned earlier, the rescission bill is there. And so let me give my daily update on the defunding effort of NPR, which has been led by Media Research Center. They are working on tracking this every single day and making sure that the right arms are twisted to do the right thing. We're talking about Republicans. All we need are Republicans.
Yeah,
we don't need Democrats
exactly.
for this.
That's right.
Steve Scalise is going to introduce H.R. 4 now officially. That's going to be the rescission package, and the bill language is drafted so that it meets every requirement under Senate rules, so they only need a 51-vote majority. The Rules Committee is going to have a special session on Tuesday to set the rules of the debate on the bill. That means the floor vote should be next Wednesday or Thursday, and Appropriations Committee Chairman Tom Cole did a great job yesterday telling the voters of his committee to vote for it, and that's important because on the Appropriations Committee, you got some squishes there. Tom Cole is leading that effort at Appropriations. So that's the latest now on the defunding of NPR and PBS. We'll stay on top of it as we promised every day. It's 7:53.